Hello, friends. Stacy Anfinson here with your Toro Report market update for January. We're going to see what happened in January of this year, first month of the year. Had a couple snowstorms, clogged up the market. So we're not going to look at the usual metrics this month. We're going to look at inventory in terms of house price metrics. Inventory up, house price metrics down. Now remember, it's kind of a little bit of a challenge for me when we talk about house price metrics, and I use that word, I emphasize metrics. It's not individual house prices. And remember, it's for the overall market. We have a whole bunch of different submarkets. So you must analyze what's going on in that submarket to determine exactly what's going on. It may or may not be reflective of what's going on in the overall market, but there's enough data in the overall market for us to dig in and see what trends we have. January months of housing supply going all the way back to 2007. The dog years of 2009 were 17 months. That's not a typo. What you see, the final two bars on the right are 2025 and 2026. Those are January of each of those years. We're back to a balanced market. Now, if you look at where the arrows are between 2017 and 2024, those 8 consecutive months of January with an undersupply of housing. So we're still feeling the effects of some of that. Now, let's take a look at inventory. So the dark blue bar is number of listings added during January. This is resales, and the white one is the end of month inventory total. You go all the way back to 2022, which we're still feeling post-COVID. Only 861 active resale listings in the 4 main counties. That's amazing. 1,587 listings during that time. But if you look at 2026, we've seen pretty much a significant increase, certainly in end of month inventory, almost 6x more in January of this year versus where we were in January of 2022. So that's no matter how you slice it, we have more resale inventory. And yeah, market practitioners were begging for it. So now we have it. So let's see how the market reacts to it. So this bar has the number of end of month listings, the percentage of total. This is resale, where there's been at least one price drop from original. There's 2021 and 22. That's coming out post-COVID. Historically low. If you look at the 43% for January of this year, it's not really that much higher than it was in 2023. And if you look at the average between 2023 and 2026, I would say that that's pretty much in line with what the market has been for the last 4 years. So nothing really to freak out about that. Now, here's expired and withdrawn listings. The blue line is withdrawn. The red line is expired. You can see both from 2025, both those lines are up significantly higher than they were. If you look at the blue line, number withdrawn 404, that's the highest going back to January of 2020. The expired is not as high as it's ever been, but it's certainly up from where it was last year. So let's take a look at some price metrics. Now, I want you to pay attention to this because we do have a seasonal pattern in our pricing, and it's really held every year with the exception of COVID. There's a bell curve in our pricing. So don't necessarily freak out by the average in May compared to the average of January, the January average being down 7%. That's pretty much a historical seasonal pattern. That's the median sales price per square foot. That's the red line. The blue line is down 4% compared to where we were median sales price in January of last year. But I want you to remember the bell curve because we're going to come up with a statistic in a couple of slides. It's going to be very impactful in terms of how you should be pricing listings. All right, let's take a look at the expired and withdrawn listings. These are what I call the failed listings. So we've got some pretty neat metrics with that. Average year built, 2002. It's about a 24-year-old house. In spite of the undersupply of housing that we have in this market, these houses have to be updated. In very rare exception can they get away with being in a 24-year-old as-is condition. 27587 postal code in Wake Forest. Shocking, that's got the highest number of these listings. It is also the postal code with the highest amount of new construction listings. The average days on market at 103, priced upon 3/4 cold sold listings. Now remember, if you're doing these CMAs, and these CMAs were done using 3/4 closed listings, you can see the bell curve there. If you priced it based on the peak of the market That to me is the number one reason why these listings go to expired and withdrawn. So keep that in mind when you're doing your CMAs. Really pay attention. It's not the close price, it's the contract date that you have to pay attention to, because we have a seasonal market, and if you price it based upon the wrong season, you're going to fail. I got a kick out of this one. Number four, the average price cut was less than 1%. You talk about a stubborn seller. I mean, that's it right there. They're just essentially saying, I'm gonna get my price. I'm not gonna give it away. But you know what the market says? It's not gonna work out. So let's wrap this up. Final thoughts. Decreasing list price metrics are due to increased inventory. No doubt about that. Decreasing list price metrics are positive. Sellers are reacting to a market condition. If they didn't drop price, well, you saw what the stubborn seller did. Those come off the market. But we have enough sellers who are dropping price. That is, you're reacting to market conditions. And if you didn't do that, boy, you'd have a stuck market, and that'd be awful. Number three, stubborn seller mentality on price will produce a failed listing 100%. As we've discussed many times or written many times, buyers are starting to list pricing 10-day increments. Within that first 10 days, you're going to get 100% or higher on sales to list price ratio. But once you get to that 11th day, the discount becomes about plus or minus 1% for each 10-day period. So that's all we've got this month. Certainly thankful for you clicking. If you like this, click on like. Please subscribe to this. Once again, these are the services I provide: appraisals, mortgage, reload attorneys, sellers, divorce, buyers, estate ones too. That's subscribing to the TAR Report, and consulting. So once again, thanks for listening, and we will see you next month.